Welcome to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, April the 13th, 2016, show number 1087. I'm your host, Shawn King. It's Wednesday. I can tell because my computer goes to crap on me on Wednesday. Literally works fine for a week since last Wednesday. And then today at 5:15, it goes. On tonight's show, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com about a bunch of different stuff. Did you see these new Apple ads? There are 7 or 8 new Apple Watch ads and a very funny new Siri ad with Kobe Bryant and Michael B. Jordan, not the basketball player, the actor. That's kind of interesting. What do you think about those? Think about the new ads. I haven't seen them on TV yet. No, I haven't seen them on TV yet. The Apple Watch ads. They're interesting. I think I'm too old and jaded to be excited by advertising anymore, but they're not bad ads. They're interesting ads. Email me to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com or on air at yourmaclifeshow.com. We'll talk about that and a bunch of other stuff with Jim. And on tonight's show, we talked about it last week, and one of the things I always find interesting is that so many people don't know about the editing abilities that are native to your iPhone. So we're going to talk about that on Starting Point Photography segment tonight. How to edit your images directly with the native iPhone app. We've talked before in the past about Snapseed and what other apps like that, but we'll talk on tonight's show about how to edit directly using your iPhone. And as I've said many times, if you're a photographer, you've got to edit. There's no photo that comes directly out of any camera, no matter how professional it is, that's a great photo right out of the camera. You got to do some stuff to it. We'll talk about that later on in the show. We talked about it on the pre-show too. You see the story about the three boys who were teasing their little sister, the baby sister. She was an adult, but she was the youngest. Had convinced her after she had gone in for wisdom tooth surgery, convinced her that the zombie apocalypse was happening. As an older brother, I would have done that. I'm sure Sly can tell stories. She had two older brothers when she was growing up. Everyone who's the younger sibling has had the older siblings tease them. If you're the youngest child, you're lucky in that never happened to you. Sorry, if you're an only child, you never had the joy of doing the teasing or the utter misery of being the one teased. But God, I remember doing the same thing to my brothers and sisters. Just awful stuff. Just terrible stuff. When you're on a farm in Nova Scotia, there's all kinds of poop to play with. So I would do that to my brother Chop and my sister Melanie. When you're a city kid, there's all kinds of places to scare your younger siblings. I would do that too. It was awful. That was hilarious. The other story was, I got to turn David off. Hang on. There we go. David turned himself off. AMC Entertainment, which I think is an American movie theater chain, is open to allowing texting in some theaters. Wouldn't that just ruin the whole movie experience for you? If somebody was texting, obviously in front of you, so you're watching a movie and suddenly there's this bright light. I wouldn't go to a theater that would allow texting. That's awful. I like the idea of, I saw them first when I was living in Portland, this idea of an adult movie theater. Not that kind of adult movie theater, but the idea that only 19 and older were allowed in the theater. And they had bar service and dinner service at your seat. And so they had a menu there. You'd show up like 45 minutes early. You'd order food, you'd order a beer. But as we quickly discovered, the problem with ordering food and beer, especially beer, before a movie is it means sometimes during the movie you got to go pee. And so we stopped doing that. I like the idea of now the theater, the AMC Entertainment CEO is talking about having separating in a multiplex. They'll have one theater set aside for those who want to text. Yes, please go over there. Go be a jerk off over there. Because the idea to me of a movie is this communal activity, event, experience, if you will. That we're all doing this thing together, even though I don't know, I'm not going to talk to anybody else in the theater. as I said earlier, I go to movie theaters with some. I can't go to a movie by myself because I want to be social. I want to talk to the person about the movie before and after, never during, but I want to discuss the movie. If I just want to watch a movie, I'll stay home. I'll watch it on Netflix or HBO or DVD or whatever it might be. And not every movie needs to be seen now, especially nowadays, because they're so expensive. Back when we were kids, we'd go to the theaters, movie theaters, all the time. When I was a kid, the local theater was just a one-screen theater. Saturday had all day long various kinds of movies, mostly kids' movies, G-rated and that kind of stuff. But that's where I saw dozens of. My mom would give us all like $1, and we'd go to the theater and we watched like 3 movies in a row. I still remember sitting there with my brothers and watching all the Abbott and Costello movies. We're not that old, but the movies would replay these old movies. And it was Abbott and Costello, the comedy duo, did a bunch of movies, I think in the late 40s, early 50s, that were plays on horror movies. So it was Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, Abbott and Costello meet Dracula, Abbott and Costello meet the Wolfman. And they were hilarious. At least I remember thinking that they were hilarious. As a kid, they were never scary. So we'd sit there and watch those for hours and hours. The very first movie I ever saw in a movie theater when I was a kid was Bedknobs and Broomsticks. And I remember going to that one on a date. A date. I was 10 years old. And it was Penny Tyndall. Penny Tyndall, Mr. and Mrs. Tyndall, were my mom and my stepdad's best friends. And Mr. Tyndall, Brian Tyndall, was a wonderful, wonderful man. I still do it now and then, but when I was a kid, I had a really bad stutter. It was so bad I wouldn't talk for most of the time. It was a really, really, really bad stutter. And Mr. Tyndall taught me how to stop stuttering. And he was in the Navy. He wasn't a voice speech therapist. He was just a smart guy. And he told me that the reason why I stutter, and to this day it still happens, is when I'm talking too fast, faster than I'm thinking. And all he told me was to think about what I was going to say before I said it. So have the words in my head before they came out of my mouth, and I wouldn't stutter. And he's right for the most part. I still stutter on certain sounds, M sounds and S sounds every now and then, usually when I'm tired. But as a kid, it was everything. It was constant. But I remember that advice to this day. And whenever I start talking too fast, I'll stutter and I'll stop and I'll start thinking about what I'm going to say. So his daughter was Penny Tyndall, and Penny was madly in love with me. And Penny was not a cute kid. She was homely. She had ugly horn ring glasses and stringy, ugly hair. But I think I remember my mom making me take Penny to the movies. And we never went on another date. We were 10. We weren't dating. The funny thing was, literally 20 years later, I'm visiting my mom in Victoria. And she says, "Oh, guess who's coming over?" I said, "Who?" "Penny Tyndall." "Oh, that's nice." "Yeah, she's in town." "Oh, really? What's she doing now?" "Well, she's married. She's got 2 kids. Her husband lives in her husband's in the Army or Navy, whatever it is, and lived in Cold Lake, Alberta. She's coming for a visit." "Oh, okay, that'd be nice." So we go over to the Tyndall's house, and there's Mr. Tyndall. I give him a big hug. I hadn't seen him in 20 years. Give him a big hug, and Mrs. Tyndall, and then there was this woman sitting at the kitchen table with a big smile on her face. And I was like, "Wow, who's the hot chick?" "Yeah, it was Penny." Penny turned out spectacularly beautiful. Oh my God, Penny was drop dead gorgeous. She was like 5'10", slim, beautiful, had 2 beautiful little kids. Oh God. Yeah, MacMan says, "Let me guess, she turned into a bombshell." Yep, yeah, she did. She was a complete hottie. There's my life, kids. There it is right there in a nutshell. Oh, dear, dear, dear. As always, we encourage you to send us emails during the show to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. If you have any comments about anything we say on the show, any questions you have. Next week's show, we're going to be doing our photo critique segment. We got a bunch of photos from folks. Send me in your photo critique, the photo that you want me to critique. And again, gently in our starting point photography segment. We'll talk about what you were trying to do, whether you accomplished it, whether the photo looks good, how to make it better maybe, how to edit it perhaps, depending on what the photo is. Let me know the story of the photo too, where you were, why you took it, what kind of camera you used, any settings that you can remember of the photo. Give me some details of the photos so I can help you out with that. So we'll do that for the first time on next week's show. So you got plenty of time to send in a photo to either onair@yourmaclifeshow.com or Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. As always, we encourage you to go to the website and subscribe to Your Mac Life. You don't have to subscribe. It's a free show. But if you'd like to support the show, if you'd like to send us some pennies, you can do so by subscribing on the left-hand side of the website. You can donate, subscribe for $5, $10, $15, $2 a month, whatever it is you so choose, comes out of your PayPal account or your major credit card, and we would appreciate it if you did that. We're still running, thanks to our friend Monty, who has got the IRC chat up and running for us. If you go to the website, right there on the front page of the website, below the video, you'll see you can put your name in and join the IRC chat room. We're also running a Telegram chat room, too, and Telegram's been running 24/7. Telegram is running all the time. So anytime you want to chat to myself or Sherry or Brian Monroe or a bunch of other folks, Khalid, who's in Saudi Arabia, which is really kind of cool, come on in and join us in the Telegram chat room. It's running at the same time as the Your Mac Life show is, too. So there's two chat rooms going on, one IRC, one Telegram chat room, and you can join either one of those. So later on the show, we'll talk about editing stuff on your iPhone. But up next, we'll talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com, but Apple ads and a bunch of other stuff. This is Your Mac Life.
Your Mac Life.
Welcome back, folks. This is Your Mac Life. I am Shawn King. Thank you guys very much for joining us here on this Wednesday. And you learn the archive if you so choose to listen to the show in that particular way. In our phone room under the bridge is our good friend Jim Dalrymple from The Loop at loopinsight.com. Jim, how you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. You went for a 2.5-mile walk today.
Yeah.
Is that about average for you? Is that what you try to do on a daily basis?
Yeah, that's what I try and do.
Yeah.
You know, life gets in the way sometimes, but when I go, that's usually what it is.
So you basically have a loop you go on that you know how long it is?
Yeah, depending on the weather, you know, I'll go outside or on a treadmill. Yeah. You know, so either way, you know, it comes out to about the same.
I just picked up a location scouting gig last weekend. I decided to spend a little bit of that money on a rowing machine. And so I bought, hopefully it's not a cheap one, but it's an inexpensive rowing machine. So I've always liked the action of a rowing machine. I don't know why, more so than a treadmill, than other exercise equipment. It's one of those ones that folds up and fits in the closet. It's not going to be a clothes hanger or anything else like that. And I'm going to be interested to see if I can replicate some of the sort of things that you've been doing with a rowing machine, as opposed to getting outside and walking or wandering around on a treadmill, paying a gym membership or things like that.
Yeah, I'm not paying any gym membership.
I thought you said you went to the gym on a regular basis.
No.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You talked about lifting weights, so I just assumed you were at a gym somewhere.
Oh no, I went to a secondhand store and got some free weights, and I do that.
Now they're secondhand. How do you know they're the actual weight they're supposed to be?
Because I weighed them on my secondhand scale.
So go ahead.
If they're both wrong, I'm okay with
exactly. That's right. Yeah. As long as the scale's out in a way that you can understand, then everything is fine.
Perfect.
So Apple announced or posted last week, first of all, a very interesting new Siri ad. They've had a couple of these with famous people using Siri. This one was Kobe Bryant, which is kind of interesting because tonight is Kobe's last night in the NBA. He's retiring tonight. And an actor, Michael B. Jordan. You see this ad?
I did.
What do you think of it?
I thought it was kind of funny.
I liked it. The previous one with the actor from Game of Thrones, and I don't know who the woman was, didn't do anything for me. But this one was because they're people I know and not relate to, but obviously I recognize more readily than the previous ones.
We all relate to the fame of Kobe.
Exactly. That's right. Exactly. But I think the tone of it was really kind of cool. That here was this old guy, and Kobe ain't old. Kobe's like 36 or 37. That's kind of depressing when you hear athletes. Oh, they're retiring because they're old. Really? How old are they? 20 years younger than you. Oh, for crying out loud!
Yeah, and when they called the ad Father Time.
Exactly. I mean, it's like screw you.
That's just hurtful.
That's really mean.
That's what that is.
It's really mean. But yeah, having that actor play on that, I think it was a really neat little play for the ad. Now the other ones, the Siri ads, not Siri ads, the Apple Watch ads, you are an Apple Watch user. Did you like those? Because I wasn't enamored of them. They were okay, but I wasn't excited by them.
Yeah, the Alice Cooper one was really good.
A lot of folks don't realize Alice Cooper is a huge golf fan. He has been for years.
Yeah. That one was kind of funny because, I could relate to that because he was golfing and going away, and then he looked at his watch and he met all the circles, so he just okay, fine, done.
Done, yeah. I was on a golf course this past weekend, and it really brought to mind the Mark Twain line of golf was a good walk ruined. Golf courses are beautiful. They're gorgeous. I love walking on a golf course. But put a stick in my hand, and you just give me a recipe for frustration.
Yeah. I see. I want to. You put something that resembles a hockey stick in my hand, and I want some gloves and a helmet.
Exactly. Have you ever actually golfed?
I golfed once.
No.
And you would know this. It was at a charity event. The Chronicle Herald, the newspaper I worked for in Halifax at the time, put in a team. So I guess they must have been short. I had never played before, so I went. And before you go out on the whatever the course is, before you go out and shoot your first ball, you could go to the driving range. So they had a pro there. So I was just, trying my best, and the pro came over and gave me some tips, and then he said, "You should just go home." So, but they did have this one, they had because it was for charity, I guess, they had a competition at every hole, like whoever. Well, there was this one. I mean, I had nothing to lose because nobody expected anything from me. So I just drilled it right across the lake, and I ended up getting closest to the hole. And even though I did that, I still couldn't put it in that little hole before anybody else did. But then, no matter what shot I took, I was using the club with the big old club on the bottom. that big old head.
It seems easier that way, doesn't it?
I putted with that. I did everything with that big thing. Oh yeah, it was awesome.
It's funny that when I was down in the States, they don't have it down there. This thing called pitch and putt. Now it's not mini golf that a lot of folks might be familiar with, but a pitch and putt is a par 3 golf course. We only have 2 sticks. You have a 9-iron and a putter, and the green is only like 35 yards away. You could throw a ball onto the green. I love pitch and putt because pitch and putt was really, really easy. And I love driving ranges because that was just great anger, frustration, get it out of your system. But when you combine the two into actual golf, holy crap, it's an annoying sport.
Yeah.
It's just,
yeah, I can't
do it.
I can't do it. No, that's not for me. Like I said, you put something in my hand that resembles a hockey stick, I want gloves and a helmet.
I want ice, exactly. So yeah, I haven't seen any of those Apple Watch ads on TV yet. Well, someone did mention though that they thought they were a little too hipster-ish. Obviously, the people they were using, except for Alice Cooper, were all young, sort of metrosexual types. And do you have a problem with that, or do you think this is Apple's target market in this campaign for the Apple Watch?
No. I mean, maybe it's their target market. I mean, I've said right from even in my Apple Watch review that I think Apple's targeting the wrong people for fitness. If you look at all their fitness ads, they're targeting people that, are gorgeous and they're fit already. And, what does that say to the rest of us? And there's more people there's more people that look like me than look like them.
This is true, for better or worse.
I mean, if they did one of their commercials that, took somebody that, used it and actually lost weight and it worked, I think that would have a bigger impact for them than putting all these pretty people on.
Fair enough. I can understand that. But then that ad would have to be like an ongoing ad over a 6-month period of time. So you'd show the person.
No, not necessarily.
No?
Not necessarily. I mean, you don't need to do. No, I don't. I mean, but then you get people like me that are gorgeous regardless. I mean,
I guess
that's why I walk the back streets, because if I go out in the main drag, I mean, cars are stopping and honking and girls are yelling. And,
I don't think it's for the same reasons that you think it is, man.
I'm that good looking.
I think part of it though is that the ad industry has always done this because it's supposed to be aspirational. That if you buy that product, you'll end up looking like this. I mean, beer ads have been doing it for generations of showing pretty girls in it. And the idea is if you buy this beer, you'll be able to talk to pretty girls. That's the kind of thing. If you buy this watch, you'll end up looking like this kind of stuff.
Yeah, at 2 a.m. you can talk to anybody.
Yeah, okay, fair point. The other one that I think the one I liked the best was, I think it was Chloe Sevignon, I think that's her name, looking through her clothes. And it's one of those ads where you think you know where the ad's going until you get to the end of it, and she uses the Apple Watch to find her iPhone. That was actually very, very funny. I liked that one a lot.
I'll tell you, the best Apple commercial I've seen in a long, long time was the Cookie Monster outtakes.
Outtakes of Cookie Monster.
That was hilarious.
Cookie Monster behind the scene.
Me get hit by Slade. Me okay. Me trooper. That was. I've watched that a number of times, and I laugh my ass off every time I see it.
Cookie Monster.
Me wish me could close eyes.
That was great. I love that. Because I was thinking that at the same time in the commercial when he put his head down. I thought, wait a minute, he's got no eye. He got no eyelids. How can he sleep?
Night Siri.
That's right. I love that one.
That's just hilarious.
I love that one because it's my Cookie Monster, even as a kid, was my favorite Sesame Street character. More so Miss Piggy or
who didn't like Cookie Monster?
Everyone loved Cookie Monster.
Cookie Monster, Animal, those are great. I'd love to see Animal talk to Siri.
Yeah. The big bird never did a thing for me when I was a kid. I recognized them as a nice, friendly bird, but I actually loved Cookie Monster.
I'd like to see Big Bird drunk.
And belligerent too.
Yeah, and belligerent.
I want to say Cookie Monster is an angry drunk.
I mean, Animal's belligerent. Yeah. Every show, Animal was belligerent. You just couldn't tell what he was saying.
No. I love the idea. I think the very first time I ever saw any kind of these these kind of behind the scenes or outtakes, was the Toy Story, the first one. And if you if you stayed through the credits, they had these things, and you're like, what's going on here? And they were basically the actors had made the bloopers, and then the animators had animated the bloopers, which I thought was just absolutely brilliant and hilarious. I'd never seen it before.
Yeah, it was awesome. Love that.
That was a good one. So yeah, it sounds like Apple's bringing some more adds to the table, a bunch of different ones with Apple Watch and Siri and that kind of stuff. One of the big items of news in the past week, it seems, have been this whole idea of bots, Siri and the like, Cortana in Microsoft. Facebook has just announced chat bots, and there's all kinds of bots all over the place. Are you and I, and probably the majority of our audience, too old to like or get bots? Do you think bots are? Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I just don't see the point of a bot.
Yeah. I don't get it.
I think part of it is that I've been using voice messaging systems for so long. You call up Comcast, you have to go through that voice tree. That seems bot-like to me. I would just frickin' hate that. I call up my bank, and they say, just say the commands, and we'll do the thing for you. No, give me a human being. I'm not talking to a computer.
Yeah, and it's tough to get a human being.
Yeah, you have to scream at the... You know what? It turns out that a lot of... And don't do this around kids. A lot of those voice systems, the ones that are designed to recognize your voice, recognize when you're cursing and will immediately send you to a human being.
Perfect.
So if you just start cursing into the phone, they immediately switch you to human being.
Yeah, that's great. Probably the red flag, though.
Well, true, but at least you're talking to a human being.
Yeah.
I just don't see, because the other issue is people are talking about having to do bots for so many different things that we're going to have a dozen bots doing a dozen different things, all doing it in different ways. So you have to learn how this bot wants you to talk versus how this bot wants you to learn to talk versus that. No, I don't see the problem they're trying to solve with this stuff.
Well, and that's part of the difficulty or problem in doing this. I mean, unless you, I mean, it's almost like you have to interact with things, right?
Yeah.
And unless you can figure out how you want to interact, and if the interaction is different for everything, I mean, I know that when I interact with Siri on my phone, it's the same as interacting with Siri on my watch and Siri on my Apple TV. And I enjoy interacting with Siri, although I will be the first to admit that I don't use Siri to any way to its capacity.
Yeah, me neither.
You know, so but I know that when I say something to Siri on my phone and on my watch, like I'd say, "What's the NHL schedule tonight?" I know it's going to be the same sentence that will get the response that I'm looking for. But if I have to change that up to say, "What is the National Hockey League schedule tonight?" Because a bot doesn't understand, or a bot wants it a bit different, or then I just don't have the patience for that. I want to be able to talk and interact with the devices. I'm not opposed to that, but
we'll definitely see how this goes moving forward. But I can't see this being widespread use for the average person. Again, this is one of those. It feels like one of those nerd technologies that the geeks and the nerds are going to love because they can figure it out, but the average person is just going to continue to type and use touch screens on this.
And you know what? Some of it is because it doesn't always work. Like, for instance, I'm meeting a friend on Friday for coffee.
Yeah. And
he gave me the it's a strange name of a coffee shop in the town that he lives in.
Okay.
And so I went to Apple Maps, and Apple Maps couldn't find it. I went to Google Maps, it found it and just put a pin there right away.
Yeah.
And I went to Waze, and it found it and put a pin there right away. So, I want to be able to talk to Apple Maps and have that done as well. because I like Apple Maps, but I'll tell you, I've been using, and I've been testing out, and I do this just to piss myself off. I'll try different apps to see how they react differently, not only to the voice, but what directions are you giving me? Do you recognize that there's traffic and I'm going to have to detour, or are you going to take me right down the center of it and I'm going to be sitting there, pissed off? I think one of the things that I did at one point, I had to go in the middle of rush hour, and rush hour traffic here is awful, but I had to go. So I told Waze and Google, don't use freeways. And it took me a really, really roundabout way, but it was actually shorter than sitting in the traffic. And I went that way.
And at least you're moving.
Right. I was enjoying the drive. But if I'm not mistaken, I couldn't figure out a way in Maps to tell it not to use freeways. There must be a way, but I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, that's one of the issues I have with it too. I was actually using it this past weekend when my TomTom GPS couldn't find a particular road that I needed to go on. So I opened up Apple Maps, and Apple Maps couldn't find the road. Great. So now I've got to, and this is the difference in how you use a device. You said you like Apple Maps. You like the directions Apple Maps give you. You like the interface of Apple Maps, right?
Yep.
The problem for me is when I'm using it on the motorcycle, I have to mount it in a certain way so that I can see the screen. So I've got to have it up high enough. I don't want to be looking down at my motorcycle tank all the time because that can be dangerous. So it blocks my speedometer. Now the problem is Apple Maps doesn't show you your speed. So I don't know how fast I'm going. Whereas a dedicated GPS, even Waze, shows you the speed that you're going. So that's a big help for me on a motorcycle.
Interesting.
And I like Waze's interface better than Apple Maps for routing around traffic. Apple Maps will show you where the traffic is. Waze will ask you, do you want to go around it?
Right. Well, I took a Waze trip. I used Waze way back. And I'll be honest, I thought the interface was kind of cartoonish and not very professional. And I really, this whole crowdsourcing thing and whatever, I didn't really give it a second thought. But recently I took a trip, a drive, and I used it, and I started to realize that whenever it came up with this little bloop, it was rerouting.
Yeah, that's right.
Because of traffic ahead. And I found myself on some strange routes. Like, I don't remember this, but you know what? The whole time I kept driving.
Yeah.
And I realized partway through this little jaunt that it kept rerouting me around the traffic. Yeah. And I appreciated that. Yeah. And, Waze also came up and would say, there's an accident up ahead. Yep. Or there's a car stopped on the shoulder, or, there's a pothole, a big pothole. Yep. When you're driving along and it just pops up over your Bluetooth speaker, or, you're in your car and says, be careful, police spotted up ahead, or whatever. I mean, that can affect the drive you had.
Absolutely. I really liked that aspect of Waze when I used it in a car. And even on the motorcycle. I like that, but you can't. I don't have it set up so that I can hear. I have to look down at the screen. The thing that annoyed me the most about Waze, I like the idea of the crowdsourcing thing, where people say, "Hey, there's a cop up here," and you drive by, there's no cop. You can say, "Nope, cop is gone." You can tell the Waze it's not there. But it's nice to know there's a red light camera or a cop, whatever it might be. The biggest issue I have with Waze is, first of all, the screen is smaller than on my dedicated GPS. So it's harder to see things, which is important when you're on a motorcycle.
Well, then use an iPad.
No, use an iPad. That's right. Yeah. But the other issue with Waze is when you stop, the advertisements pop up. Now, when you're in a car, this might not be so bad, but on a motorcycle, I don't want you blocking the route I'm on, because I need to know where I'm going to go next. I'd really rather have the ad pop up from the bottom. I don't mind the ad so much, but I want it to come from the bottom of the screen, not the top of the screen. You understand what I'm saying?
I get you.
And at least with my TomTom GPS or a Garmin dedicated GPS, there's no advertising. I get all that stuff. I get traffic. I get the routing ability. The other thing about it, and this is for a very small subset of people, I can also go and online download .gpx data, which is route maps, and put them on my dedicated GPS, and go on someone else's route, which you can't do with the iPhone, you can't do with Waze, you can't do with other systems.
But I find those dedicated GPSs so, I mean, they're worse than the interface of Waze.
They can be, yeah, I agree. But I think for me, and for a lot of motorcyclists and people who drive for adventure, they can the advantages outweigh the disadvantages.
Hey, anytime you get on a motorcycle and drive, you're driving for adventure.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. For example, this weekend I needed to go to 10 different places, so I told my GPS those 10 different places, and the GPS found me a route, and it didn't even find me the most direct route because I told my GPS to take me on the windiest route there. So I had a lot of fun driving around. The 7 locations were about 3 hours apart, but it took me 9 hours of driving. That's what I want on a motorcycle. And you don't. The people who don't want that don't need dedicated GPSs. Speaking of dedication, GoPro hires former Apple designer as vice president of design. According to the story on loopinsight.com, a core member of Apple's elite design team for more than 20 years. Mr. Koster is credited for his contributions to a wide range of iconic consumer electronics. This obviously means that Apple is doomed. The company's going to go out of business by Saturday.
It's interesting. I said in there that I always find it interesting to see how these designers do outside outside of at the Apple ecosystem.
Yep.
That's what I find interesting. Because
I describe it
inside is different.
I describe it as the Apple support system. Because I think the aspect of Apple, the corporate identity of Apple is a support system for a lot of these people. They will not get when they go elsewhere. Tony Fadell at Nest is finding that out as we speak. That it's not just the company, it's the way the company deals with people. And they may or may not be successful in these other positions. What I find really funny and sad is to watch the Mac community try to tear this guy a new one because he's gone off to a different company, that he's just loyal to Apple, that somehow he is no longer a part of the Macintosh community because he's gone on to hopefully bigger and better things. What do you think of that?
No, that's just such crap. I mean, there are a limited number of VP positions at Apple. Maybe he wasn't going to make VP at Apple. Maybe never.
He's not going to be head of design, which is probably what he wants.
Yeah. So, now he goes to another company. He's got the pedigree from Apple, and he can write his ticket, and he did.
Good
and
for
he
him.
went to GoPro. Yeah, good for him. All these people that say that you're a trader or whatever it is. Screw you.
And the thing that kills me with this stuff is every single one of them, if they had half a brain, would do the exact same deal. Hey, we're going to give you more money. We're going to give you a better job. We're going to make you more important in the company. Do you want that job? Nah, I'll stay here. What are you, shitting me? No, everyone takes that gig.
Yeah. So, it could be, maybe this is his last gig before he retires, or, he's been there 20 years. Yeah. He's got lots of money. It's not about money anymore. So he's just, everybody, I think everybody, if given the opportunity, would take a VP role and, have some control over industrial design. Yeah. That's what he's going to do. That's what he trained 20 years to do. He'll do this, and then, he'll probably retire.
And if he does that, good for him.
Good for him.
I don't begrudge the guy at all. The people who are slamming this guy because he's gone off to a different gig, he's left the mothership, you guys are all idiots.
Yep. I agree.
Speaking of idiots, new Kindle Oasis with leather charging cover. $300 for a Kindle? Would you pay that?
I pay $10 for Kindle.
That's a lot of money for a Kindle. For a supposed dedicated e-reader, that's a lot of money.
I just don't see. Well, I've said before, I just don't get the Kindle. I don't get why a dedicated device for books. I understood the whole reading in the sun thing,
Yep.
but I'll tell you, iPad Pro, read in the sun.
Yep.
You know, so now I really don't get the Kindle. But you know, there's something to be said for the battery life and a charging. I didn't investigate the charging case. But that could be interesting. You know, that's an interesting little thing. I've also said before that I have a lot of respect for Amazon. I mean, I've ordered stuff from Amazon. That shit comes quick.
Yeah.
They just, you know, you order it, and you can order almost anything on Amazon.
Yeah.
So Amazon has a great brand.
Well, Amazon, you can order anything you want on Amazon US, not on Amazon frickin' Canada.
Well, I mean, that's the CRTC. They probably don't have enough French stuff on it.
But doesn't it feel like Amazon might be, batting above their weight here, because they're known for these inexpensive, good, long life battery devices, these dedicated e-readers. I know a couple of people have them and they love them. And I always ask them, why not get an iPad? Well, I don't need an iPad. They don't want to do all the stuff that an iPad has. They just want to read books on their Kindle. That's great.
So let me ask you this. What does Amazon have to lose?
Well,
by introducing this.
Good point. What they don't have a lot to lose, except
they have nothing to lose.
Yeah, true. But then you could say the same thing with the Apple Fire phone too. They had nothing to lose there, and that was a huge embarrassment. They had millions of dollars to lose.
And did that affect the core business of Amazon? No.
So that's it. You're done there.
Well, no, I'm just saying. I mean, Amazon is one of these companies that can go out and try these different products, and it's not going to affect their core business.
True. Yeah.
Unlike Apple. If Apple came out with, a new product and it completely flopped, it would hurt them.
Yeah.
It would hurt them badly. So they cannot afford a flop. Amazon can come out every week with a flop. It's still not going to hurt their core business, because their core business is this, online ordering thing, where people go and order the craziest shit in the world. It gets delivered to them the next day. So that's great stuff. But they can put out a $300 Kindle, and what if it doesn't work? So what? What if it does? Then that's just a bonus for Amazon. Woohoo! Apple can't do that.
We reported this past weekend, the FBI paid professional hackers to hack that San Bernardino iPhone. Do you have a problem with this?
Well, see, no, I don't. But last night there was a story that Celebrate actually is the one that did it, and the Celebrate CEO never denied it.
Yeah.
So I don't know who did it. Is Celebrate the hackers that they hired? Is it Celebrate, or are they, actually black hat hackers?
Well, I don't know. There's a very good case to be made that Celebrate isn't confirming or denying it because it makes them look good. Let's say the FBI didn't hire Celebrate. Now, there's a rumor out there that Celebrate, because the story came from an Israeli newspaper that has been known to be friendly with Celebrate in the past, they planted the story that Celebrate was the one who was doing this. Now it makes Celebrate look good to the rest of the world because, the FBI hired Celebrate. We can neither confirm nor deny that we are working with the FBI. So it kind of makes Celebrate look good.
But they also said that the CIA is now a customer and Interpol is now a customer.
Sure, exactly.
So, the way that that story was worded, that's why I linked to that last night, because the way that it was worded seemed to me to be, okay, these guys are behind it. Now, did the FBI just say that they hired hackers? Did they actually hire hackers? And this has nothing to do with Celebrate.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know. But, however the FBI did it, then good for them for being resourceful.
See, now that's where I disagree with you. And Monty says the same thing in the IRC chat room. Good for the FBI. They got what they thought they wanted, and the rest of us got to keep our privacy. No, we don't. Because what this means is a third party who is not the government and not Apple has this technology and is willing to sell it to other people. So what happens is the Chinese government offers these guys X numbers of millions of dollars. They're going to sell it to them. The North Koreans, the Russians, whoever. That's why this is a bad thing.
But, well, you're assuming that this wouldn't have been sold anyway. I mean, this just gave the hackers something to pinpoint.
Yes.
Don't forget how good these guys are.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, these guys hack into the Pentagon and they hack into everything. So if the FBI can say, look, we will pay you, you know, I assume it's going to be a large amount. We'll pay you $1 million to break into this phone. You know that every hacker in the world was trying to break into that, you know, a similarly equipped phone.
Yep.
So, you know, somebody did it. He got his bounty. Good for you. I have no issue with that. The FBI did what they needed to do, and the hacker did what he needed to do. And, you know, the next day, he probably read about another bounty. If you can break this, then we'll give you $100,000.
Yeah.
Great, there's another payday. And off he goes and does that. It could be from, you know, a European government. It could be from the U.S. It could be from a company.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, if he's smart enough to do it, and don't forget also that Apple's figuring out how they did it.
Yeah.
And they're going to block that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the only good news of all this.
And then that guy, I mean, just because that hack is there and he could sell it to somebody else or, you know, whatever, doesn't mean it's always going to be there.
That's right.
This is going to be an ongoing process. It has been an ongoing process of bugs and security fixing since software was first developed.
Yep.
It's going to continue to be. It's just that the stakes now are a little bit higher because this involves encryption and you know, criminals and things like that. The game hasn't changed. The profile of the game has gotten higher.
There's a story. Journalist Matthew Keys was sentenced to 24 months for a particular media hack. You ever done anything that you should be sentenced for, Jim?
What did he do?
Have you ever? The story is that a journalist is going to jail for being involved with a hack of someone's phone. Have you ever done anything that you should be arrested for, Jim?
In my job?
This week?
This week? No, definitely not this week. What do you mean in my job?
Sure.
Like that?
Yeah, in your job. Have you
No.
done anything illegal as a journalist?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I have either. I know I've done all kinds of illegal stuff. I've done illegal stuff in the last 72 hours, but I don't think I've done anything work related.
If you're talking about, you know, have you done anything illegal? Yeah, I sped down the road today.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
that's right.
I mean, did I kill anybody? No, you'll never find the body. But you know, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you talk about killing and stuff like that, no, I've never done anything like that. And in my work, have I done anything illegal that I should be put in jail for, or that in my work, if anybody found out, oh my God, he did this, you know, no.
I know we've all received material that could be considered to be, shall we say, suspect.
Yes.
You know, if you're getting stuff, and for folks who may not realize this, that people, especially back in the day, it was a lot more common. Folks would send journalists information about Apple, and they were under an NDA because everyone who works for Apple is under an NDA. So when they sent you that information, they were breaking their NDA. And Apple tried to make an argument on many occasions that those of us who were receiving this information were as guilty as the person who was breaking their NDA. That we were sort of breaking NDA by proxy. And Apple never really got very far with that. It might be a moral or ethical issue. I don't think it's a legal issue, though. I think journalists are protected by various kinds of shield laws that it's okay for them to accept ill-gotten materials in pursuit of a story. Do you think that's correct?
Well, I think it's different. I mean, in my capacity of investigating stories in the past, have I come across information that fell off the turnip truck? Yeah, I have. But have I used that in nefarious ways? No. I haven't written back to a company and tried to blackmail them for the information back. Yeah. And as I'm sure that a lot of the people that that listen to the show know that most of the information I get, I never publish.
Yeah.
Because it's rumor and it's speculation, and there's things that I just don't publish it. I get lots.
Yeah.
But it's just not my thing. That's not what I do. So
I don't know. We'll wrap up on this one. This is going to be the dumbest thing I read all week. The folks at iMore, Serenity Caldwell, wrote a story complaining that the Siri remote kept disappearing in her couch cushions. Okay, that's a valid complaint. Not a very good one, but it's a valid complaint. She wants Apple to fix the problem. She wants Apple to develop something that makes the remote beep so she can push a button on her iPhone or her Apple TV and the remote will beep.
If my remote beeps, I'm smashing it.
Now, back in the day, I had a TV that did that. I had an old Toshiba TV when I lived in Nashville, and it was a great TV, and it had a button on the front of the TV. And when you push the button, the remote would start beeping, so you could find the remote. That's not a problem. But Serenity, here's the solution to your problem. Don't put it on the couch! It's not rocket science! Don't put it down next to you! Put it on the frickin' coffee table! When I got the new Apple TV, I did that. I lost the Siri remote. I put it down next to me on the couch, and sure enough, it fell into the couch cushions. I thought to myself, like a grown-up adult does, don't do that again. I never thought for a second, oh shit, I wish Apple would spend X numbers of millions of dollars to develop something that will make this thing beep. Jesus Christ!
That'd freak me out.
The whininess of the Mac community just drives me batshit crazy sometimes. The fact that you can't be an adult and put the remote somewhere else. That you somehow think that the solution is for Apple to develop a solution for you.
What about the one that got me when it happened was the guy that dropped the remote and it broke. He dropped it on concrete floor or something and it broke.
No.
Hello?
Yep.
Dumbass. And then he wrote this big blog post.
Yeah!
You know what? I had a coffee mug once and I dropped it on concrete and it broke too, so I feel your pain.
You didn't write in your coffee blog 500 words about how the company should develop an unbreakable coffee mug for you.
Jeez.
Come on. I mean, I get the frustration of it's kind of funny. Where the hell's the remote? The kids moved or whatever it is. But to write a 500-word blog post on how Apple should solve this problem is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
Utterly mind-boggling. Folks, we're talking to Jim Dalrymple, The Loop, at loopinsight.com. He's got his own podcast up on the iTunes store. Search for Jim Dalrymple, and they will show up. Jim, thanks for joining me, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Shawn.
Have a good night. See ya.
Bye.
Yeah, that kind of stuff just makes me just batshit crazy when people screw up and the solution is easy. Don't put it on the couch next to you. But they expect Apple to solve the problem for them. This is not Apple's problem. It's your problem. It's your problem not to be able to take care of your shit. It's easy. Take care of your shit, and Apple doesn't got to do anything. Seriously, I remember that happening. I remember not being able to find the remote and going, oh, yeah, I put it on the couch, just slid the couch cushions, hang on, get it, and oh yeah, here it is. Let's not do that anymore. So now I put it on the coffee table. We were talking, I think, on last week's show about the number of things that Apple had, the number of products that they were selling, in particular back in the late 90s. And someone sent me a list of this on Moric.me. The max Apple was selling in 1986. So 1986 was the prime years for me anyway of trying to be a computer consultant, trying to be a guy helping people buy and figure out and fix Macintoshes. In 1986 alone, these were the products Apple had for sale. They had the Macintosh LC. They had the Performer 560, Performer 580, the Performer 588 CD, Performer 5200, 5260, 5270, 5280, 5300 Performer, 5400 Performer, 6200 series, 6300 series, 6360, 6400, Power Mac 4400, Power Mac 5200, 5260, 5400, Power Mac 6100, Power Mac 6200, Power Mac 6300. Do you see where I'm going with this? Apple had about 40 different machines that they were selling at that time. It was utterly insane how many different kinds of machines Apple was selling. And some of them only differed in RAM. One of these machines might have had 2 megs of RAM, the other might have had 4 megs of RAM. Or one might have had a 5 megabyte hard drive that had a 10 megabyte hard drive. That was the only differences in the machines. But Apple gave them all different names. It was insanely confusing. For me as a consultant, for a customer, forget about it. And trying to go to a store, a Best Buy, a Future Shop, a Sears, and get one of the no minds to help you figure out which was the best machine for you was utterly impossible. It's just mind-boggling. I looked at this list. And then those were just the desktop machines. The laptops, they had the PowerBook 190, the 55C, 5300, 1400C, and CS. The PowerBook Duo, remember the Duo, 2300C. The PowerBook Duo 280. And there were servers and printers, and it was just insane variety of machines that Apple sold back in the day. So if you think Apple's list of products that they have now is confusing, you're so lucky to not live through 1996 with the rest of us old timers. In our starting point photography segment, one of the things I've always told people is every photo you take has to be edited or tweaked somehow. The best camera you're ever going to have, the best sensor you're ever going to have, or the best lens you're ever going to have is your eyes and your brain. No camera you own, no camera you're likely ever to own, will be as good as your eyes and your brain. So what happens is we see things differently than our cameras do. We'll see more colors, more shades of colors, more gradations of colors. We'll see more light. We'll see more shades and blacks and what. We'll see everything more than your phone. So what happens is you see a beautiful scene and your brain translates it for you. Your eyes see it and your brain translates it for you. And you take a picture of it and you go, well, that wasn't what I see. It's not even close. So what you need to want to do is, as I've always said, get it good in the camera and then get it right in software. So every picture that you see has probably been edited in some way, shape, or form. Maybe not in a drastic kind of way, but they've all been tweaked. And if you learn to tweak, your pictures will get better. If you learn the rules of photography and then learn how to use software to make your photos just that much better, I guarantee your photos will get better. And I'm not talking about bringing your photos in a Photoshop, taking a 6-month class learning how to use Photoshop. There's all kinds of software out there that will let you do very, very quick 30-second to a minute edits on your images. So I'm going to show you in the camera app. Let me just get this pulled up on the site so you guys can see this stuff. Make this go away. You go away. Okay, you guys should be able to see this now for you folks who are watching the video. So, obviously I don't have much to shoot here to show you guys. Get this done right. So at the bottom of the screen, sorry, let me take it, just pretend I've taken this image. So let me just get a photo. And, okay, this is a perfectly good photo. I love this photo. This is a photo I took at the Mount Lehman Vineyard in Langley here in British Columbia. This is just a big old barn with a whole bunch of wine barrels. And so the first thing I did was I composed the image. I saw the image and thought, I like the way this looks. I stood in this spot and looked down that line and saw that virtual line of barrels going from the biggest ones to the smallest ones off in the distance. I saw these converging lines all going down to that space off in the distance. I just loved the way this looked. So I took my iPhone out, took this picture. See if I can't get this bigger screen for you guys. What big is it going to get? So now this is unedited. I have not done a thing. If you saw this picture on Saturday when I posted it on Twitter, there's nothing I changed in this photo. So when you take the photo, you'll see at the bottom, it says edit down at the bottom of the screen. So you tap the edit button. Now in the upper right-hand corner, you have this little magic wandy thing. And if you click on that, it will do something called auto enhance. You just tap it and see if it makes any changes. And it does. If you go back, you can see how it sort of brightens up the scene a little bit. The iPhone shot is kind of flat. Colors aren't very saturated. They're not very vibrant. But auto enhance just bumps it up a little bit. See how that's done? Real simple. Down here at the bottom, you can see it says cancel. And there's this funny little symbol down there at the bottom. The funny little symbol is the crop button. So you tap on that one. And like I always tell people, crop out that which isn't important in your image. Crop out the edges of things. To the top and the bottom, left and right of your image that don't add to your image, that don't make your image better. And this is patting myself on the back. I don't think there's much here I really need to crop, but you will notice that when I did that, when I pushed that button, it kind of tilted. Come here, cancel. Come on, I'm clicking on the screen as if I was. If I click the cancel button, yeah, discard changes. Go back to edit. Watch how the image tilts just ever so slightly when I click this. Boop. The iPhone camera app will automatically straighten the image. Now, you may not like the way it's straightened. I actually don't. I think it makes the barrel in the front look kind of weird. So I'm going to go and just grab on the screen and push this back to 0. So there's the first thing you want to do is you always want to crop first, because there's no point in doing edits on an image of bits that you're going to get rid of. There's no point in working on contrast and exposure and brightness and color for parts that are going to be cropped out later. So I always do a crop first. Next up along that bottom row is 3 little circles. You tap on those, and here's where you get a bunch of interesting filter effects. And these are the typical filter effects you'll see in Instagram and Snapseed and any number of phone apps. And sometimes these work, sometimes these don't. You just tap on them. You click on them and see if they make your image look better or worse. And the thing is, it won't be consistent. Not every image can use or look good with this instant filter. Not every image looks good processed. So you have to try these things out with almost every image that you use. So, for example, I kind of like this chrome look. Actually, no, now that I see it on screen, I don't like it. So I don't actually like any of these filters in this case. So I'll go back to the none filter. So that means it takes away all the filters. Next to that one is a odd little circular symbol. I click on that one, and it brings me up these options: light, color, black and white. And on the right-hand side, you can see there's a little downward pointing arrow. Well, you click on that, and it brings up all these options: exposure, highlight, shadow, brightness, contrast, black point. Now, you don't need to know what any of these things do. You literally, it doesn't matter at all. They could have used A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It doesn't matter. You can kind of figure out what they are talking about, but you don't need to know what these things mean. Just click on them. So let's go for exposure. So I click on exposure, and now I have this red line at the bottom of my screen. Now all you're going to do is grab at the word exposure and just start sliding your finger back and forth until you get the image to where you want it to be. And I'm going to, there it is, a little underexposed. I'm going to give it a little bit of overexposure. You can see the dot. I don't know if you can actually see it in the video, but there's a little tiny dot right here to the left of the red line. That's the optimum exposure. You may want it, you may want to leave it there. You may want to move it someplace else. It's your photo. You make the call of whether you want it to be over, under, or according to the camera, perfectly exposed. I'll give it a little bit of overexposure. Now I'm going to swipe up with, oh, so that was highlights. Now I'm going to swipe up with my thumb, and there I see highlights. Same thing. You just start scrolling back and forth and seeing if the image gets better or worse. So I'm going to say that right there, slightly to the left of optimal, is where I'm going to leave highlights. I scroll up again, I see shadows. Shadows are obvious. It's the shadows, the dark areas of your photo. You want to make it darker, we'll make it lighter, bring out some more detail. I want to go for a bit of a darker, moodier kind of feel there. I go up to, again, shadows, brightness, same thing with brightness. I can make it darker, I can make it brighter. You have contrast. I usually leave contrast alone. I don't find contrast does a whole lot of stuff. And black point. And black point I rarely touch as well. Clicking back on the three lines here on the right-hand side brings up the options again. And now I'm going to click on color. I click saturation, and same thing. You just start dragging your finger. You can make it black and white. You can make it stupidly bright. I'm just going to tweak it a little bit to get a little bit of color into it. Same with the contrast again, but this is contrast of color. And then color cast. And that'll change the temperature of the light. I want it to be a little golden. The three dots next to it, you can also edit in applications. So if you wanted to bring this into, you have Diptyque, Pixelmator, Infiltrate, Camera Plus. There's a whole bunch of different apps here. You can also choose. Look at all the different apps I've got that I can edit in. And then finally, you click on the Done button, and it saves the photo. And boom, you got it. There's your photo. There's the image post-edit. And I guarantee you it looks better than the original. The original was muted, it was just sort of flat. It didn't have a lot of punch to it. But now, with it looking like this, with a little bit more color to it, a little brighter in the shadows, a little more detail, this is a nice photo. Now, this is not a photo I'm going to print off. This is not a photo that I'm going to send to family and friends. This is a nice photo I kind of liked that I took it. This is what I call a memory photo. It's not an award-winning photo. It's not a photo that I'm going to show off to family and friends. I'm going to print off and put on the wall. But it's a memory photo. It's a photo that I'll see again, and I'll remember where I was, what I was doing, whatever it might be, the smell inside the barn, the feel of those barrels, that kind of stuff. These are memory photos. Nothing wrong with memory photos. But like I said, every photo you take, start doing this with them. Before you post them to Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever it might be, just take 30 seconds to a minute. Actually, it'll take you longer than that. Once you get used to it, it's real fast. Trust me, I do this inside of a minute now with the photos that I post on Twitter or Facebook. It's real simple to flip around there. And that's on the native iPhone app. That's not anything else. That's the one that you've already got on your phone. So try that. Try playing around with that app. Monty says, I wish those edits were saved as a separate image in my camera roll as opposed to editing the original image. Fair. What you can do with that, Monty, is in the camera roll, and I'll go to that image, you can choose to, before you edit, click on the duplicate button. See that in the lower right? Duplicate. Before you do your edit, click duplicate. And it will make a duplicate of the photo. So I'll just click duplicate. And now you see I've got, oops, hello. Hello. Now you can see I've got two of those photos. There's one and there's the other. Exact same photo. So I just work on the duplicate. Monty says, oh, I hadn't noticed that. Yeah, that's why I'm here, buddy. Oh, shit, I didn't show that to you. Sorry. I'll show it to you on the video. On the lower left hand, you'll see the square with the arrow in it. You click on that, and then one of your options at the bottom is duplicate. You have a bunch of other options there too, but in this case, we're looking for the duplicate one. You just click on, and you can duplicate because you can see the check mark. So you can duplicate any number of photos all at the same time. So if you've taken a bunch of photos, duplicate them all. This photo, actually, I thought was hilarious. No exit, no turnaround. What? If I can't exit, I'm not allowed to turn around, I'm trapped. My motorcycle is stuck there. I'm never going to be able to leave this place. So there you go. That's how to do basic edits in your iPhone directly. Try it out with a little bit of practice, not a lot. You'll start doing this really quickly and really easily, and I promise you, your photos will get better once you learn a little bit about that editing technique. The downside of editing on the iPhone for those of us of a certain age is that we tend to overdo effects. We don't see them that well on the iPhone. And so maybe you'll oversaturate because it looks fine on the iPhone, but when you see it in the computer screen, you go, oh my God, it's awful. So what I tend to do is make it look good on the iPhone and then just dial it back just a touch, just a little bit to overcompensate for the small screen of the iPhone. It's also why I love editing on my iPad, because I can see it much better and I can see if I'm going over the top when it comes to the edits. And why I lust after the iPad Pro, the big one, for exactly that reason, because it makes editing just that much easier. As always, Doug Pasnak says, wait, did it straighten that automatically? Yeah, Doug, it did. It will, I'll show it to you on the, see if it'll do it for this one. No, it didn't. All right. It won't do it for every single picture. Let's just see which pictures it will do it with. There, that one it did it. Did you see that? Oops. Oops. Okay, here it is, Doug. Watch this. I click the auto button. Boop. Now, what it's using to make those corrections is some sort of, in this case, you can see the line at the top of the screen that it's using. It's using that power line at the top of the screen in order to straighten things out. But by using that line, it made everything else look a little crooked. If I put it back, you can see how the motorcycle looks better and the elk sign looks better with it just slightly tilted. Whereas that power line, it was okay for the power line to be crooked because it was crooked in real life. Oh, you didn't see the video? Hang on. Oh, crap. I'm sorry. Jeez, I keep forgetting to switch the video. Okay. Here it is. Here's the original photo. Okay. And when I click auto at the bottom of the screen, boop, it just makes a very small, like 3-4 degree change because the iPhone sees this line and wants to make that line straight at the top of the screen. The problem is when it makes that line straight, it makes the image crooked. Watch. I'll reset it. Do the auto again. I'll reset it. So the original looks better because the bike and the sign are, no, they're not straight, but they're in a more, I guess, proper position. The sign looked wonky afterwards. Yeah, so these automatic adjustments you have to keep your eye on because sometimes they make them look strange. And by the way, that sign, that's like the worst sign ever if you're on a motorcycle. You do not want to see this sign on a motor. You don't want to see it in a car, but you sure as hell don't want to see it on a motorcycle. Here's another example. I think this one will do it with these tulips. Oops, hang on, go back. Edit. Cancel. Why is it doing that? Cancel. I want to edit this image. Same thing there. It just sort of give a little twist. Now this one is not so bad. I don't mind the straightening correction on this one. There it is crooked. There it is auto. So it works sometimes. It doesn't work all the time. So experiment, play around with it, and see when it works for you. I always do it anyway, just to see if it works. Kind of messes with horizon too. Yeah, it depends on what's important in the shot to you, what you want to do, and how. And remember, you can also do it manually too. You can also grab the image and drag it around the screen too. If you don't agree with what the phone thinks is right, you can change it in any number of ways yourself. So you're not stuck with doing it just the way the phone wants you to do it. If you have any other questions, as always, send them to me. I love answering questions from folks about this kind of stuff. Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. I'm more than happy to help you guys out. Monty says the tulips are beautiful. Dude, you would not believe that tulip field was probably, I'm going to guess and say 15, 20 acres. It went well past the horizon you see in that photo. It went on forever. It was just a huge field of tulips. That was the second tulip field I'd seen that day. But you can see how it goes over the hill. It goes all the way down past there. Yeah, the MacMan says a flower farm. Yep, it's a tulip farm. We have several of them in this general area. Really pretty. And it wasn't even all that sunny of a day, and it was still absolutely gorgeous. The thing I liked about this tulip field in particular, and why I stopped for this one, was they either accidentally or on purpose. Look at this. You see the red ones in between the white ones? That to me looked really, really cool. Now I don't know if the white ones or if the red ones were there by accident. You know, if the red seeds, bulbs get mixed in with the white ones, but it really looked kind of pretty to see the red ones mixed in with the white ones. I really liked it. So yeah, questions, Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. Speaking of which, we got some time for a couple of questions. So let me just go through my email and see if you guys have sent me anything during the show. Let me just check real quick. Spam, 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 spam. Okay. Get to my email box. Jason Painter there in Australia says, I've experienced this hats in pub thing. I entered a football club in inner West Sydney and was asked to take off my cap. I assumed it was so they could consult video footage if I committed a crime. See, that's the problem I have with that, is the presuming that you're a criminal. I mean, why don't they just ask you for your fingerprints before you get a pint? Do a criminal background check on you before you get a pint. I don't like it. Don Beck on Martha's Vineyard says, last night's show, or last week's show, you asked what our first Mac was. In May of 1984, Don says he was taking over a monthly newsletter for Square Dance callers and needed a word processor and a database to keep track of my subscribers and print labels. I assumed I'd buy an IBM since that was what most people had, but when I saw the Mac, I fell in love with it. I had seen a friend using a Xerox PARC Alto in a computer lab at MIT, and when I was shopping for my first computer, I saw that I could own a computer with a GUI, graphical user interface, and WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get, for only $2,500 plus $500 more for a dot matrix printer, and I jumped at it. After an hour with my Mac 128, I said if I never got any additional software for it, it was worth it. I used MacWrite to print a 2-column newsletter, having to run it through the printer once to print the left side column, then a second time to print the right side column. My database was Main Street Filer. It wasn't elegant, but it did the trick. Later that year, I upgraded the 128K to 512, making it a fat Mac, and I eventually bought a Mac Plus, etc., etc., etc. Thanks, Don, for your original Macintosh story. Scott Randall on the Long Island Macintosh user group says, have you seen the whole blow up over Text Expander? I never really expected this from Smile. Like you, I'm a big user of Text Expander. I've always been a fan of Smile software, and I really miss Gene McDonald. I don't know what financial challenges they face, but the subscription rate is too high for what it is, especially since there are competitors out there that are not subscription-based. I think $2 a month would be fair, and you would not feel it. It would also keep more customers that way. Things like Office 360 are less expensive for what they give you. They also still offer a non-subscription version. Creative Cloud is too expensive for me, so I'm sticking with CS6, which still works. I want to keep using Text Expander, but I would like to see them make the price a little easier to swallow. What do you think? Well, Scott, good news. Yesterday, the folks at Text Expander announced exactly that. They're going to continue to sell version 5 and continue to develop version 5. And they had lowered the subscription price from basically $50 a year to $20 a year. Will that make people happy? I don't know. I think a lot of people were so mad at Smile for this, they went off and found alternatives. They didn't wait for something bad to happen. They didn't wait to see when the next shoe was going to drop. They went and looked at Typinator and Type It For Me. And the first thing they found was those things were cheaper, at least from their point of view. Like I said in last week's show, I love the folks at Smile. Greg Scown and those guys, great people, been hugely supportive of the Mac community in general for many, many years. They deserve a lot of respect. The problem is, I think they handled this really poorly. I don't know why they thought they wouldn't get pushback on this. I don't know why they didn't ask their friends, and they have a lot, hey, what do you think of this? To help get some outsider opinion, because everyone would have said, no, this is not a good idea. I'm surprised that they didn't come up with the idea of Text Expander Pro. I mean, they have PDF Pen and PDF Pen Pro. So what they could have done was continue on with Text Expander as the utility it was. And if they wanted to get business customers, go with this Text Expander Pro subscription model service. That, I think, would have made more sense and would have softened the blow for a lot of people. The problem is, with the new version of Text Expander, they were asking us to pay more money, and for a lot of people, possibly the majority, pay for things they had no interest in. I have no interest in using their servers to do my syncing. I have no interest in ever sharing my snippets. I've never done it before. I don't see myself ever doing it. So those are the two major new features that they were asking us to pay for that I wasn't going to use, ever. That I don't like. I don't like the idea of using their servers. I don't like the idea of sharing my snippets. But you want me to pay basically double what I was paying before. The other thing is, too, is people have this image of Text Expander. A lot of folks didn't know they had it on their machine. A lot of folks didn't realize that it was set up on their computers. And maybe they weren't using it, or maybe it was working in the background and never bothered them. I don't think of Text Expander at all during my working day, and yet I probably use it 100 times a day for snippets of text, to add the date to an email, to add a signature, to fill in information in forms, address, all that kind of stuff. But I don't think about it. I don't think that's what's happening. Oh, I should use Text Expander right now. I don't. I just do it. So because it wasn't front of mind, people perceive it to be not very valuable, when in fact it is quite valuable. I couldn't do a lot of the stuff. I would be very frustrated. I could do what I do now, but it would take me longer and be more frustrating. So that's why I love Text Expander. But this is the direction they want to go. And a certain percentage of their audience, possibly myself included, will move on to other things. That's going to be a shame. I hope the company is okay. I hope they're going to continue to do okay. Like I said, I've been a big fan of their stuff for years. I've been a big fan of their people for years. Just wish they'd handled this one better. Folks, that's it for Your Mac Life. I want to say thanks very much to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com for joining us and being on the show. As always, thanks to you guys for listening to the show, wherever you choose to listen, whether you're listening in via the archive or listening in via the live show. I love you live show folks. I got to tell you that, first of all. The live show is the best. You guys sending me questions and making comments to each other in the Telegram room and in the IRC chat room, that's my favorite part of the show. I have to be careful sometimes to not watch those rooms and get distracted by what you guys are talking about. As always, send me emails to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com during the week. Love hearing from you guys. Love hearing what you guys have to say or think or comment on about anything that we talk about on the show or anything else that comes to mind. So that's it, folks. As always, I've been Shawn King. Thank you guys very much for listening. And I screwed the ending up. I've been Shawn King. Thanks very much for listening. No. Until next week, as always, there it is. I lost it out of my head. Until next week, as always, I've been Shawn King, and you've been listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!